Yo, what's up, guys? TS Games here, and welcome back to another Teach a Friend. It's Saturday this time, so I'm a little bit closer to getting it on time. Maybe next time I'll actually record on Friday and then upload on Saturday. Hopefully, I'll upload this today. I didn't last week. I recorded it on Saturday, then didn't upload it till Monday, which is funny because that Teach a Friend was on procrastination. Oh well. I have to get better too. No one's perfect. Okay, so this lesson is our lesson 8. For me, it is the final lesson in this chapter or section of the class, I guess, on becoming an effective learner. And that's on information literacy, which at the start, I had no idea what that even meant. But I obviously know what it means now because now I'm teaching it. So, what that is, basically the whole concept of this lesson is you're learning both you're learning both effective search strategies for, like searching the internet for articles and other such things, researching. That's the word that escaped me. So you're learning methods of research and learning how to research effectively by learning good search strategies and how to determine if sources are credible. And so the reason this is important, of course, is because you don't want to the spread of false information is kind of a big problem lately I've seen in the media. Is that there's a lot of false information being spread around and it's not good. And so one of the big things we're supposed to my hair, is there a shadow of my hair? That's funny. Okay. And so one of the most important things about that, one of the reasons it's important is because, well, what we determine as to be true, what we believe to be true may not necessarily be true. And that concept was taught in a talk by someone in the First Presidency of our church in a talk entitled "What is Truth?" And he referenced the poem by John Godfrey Saxe, The Blind Man and the Elephant, and it goes as such. It says, "It was 6 blind men of Indostan, to learning much inclined, who went to see the elephant, though all of them were blind, that each by observation might satisfy his mind. The first approached the elephant, and happening to fall against his broad and sturdy side, at once began to bawl, 'God bless me, but the elephant is nothing but a wall.' The second, feeling of the tusk, cried, 'Ho, what have we here? So very round and smooth and sharp, to me 'tis mighty clear. Though this wonder of an elephant is very like a spear.' The third approached the animal, and happening to take the squirming trunk within his hands, I see, quoth he, the elephant is very like a snake. The fourth reached out his eager hand, and felt about the knee. What most this wondrous beast is like, is mighty plain, quoth he. 'Tis clear enough the elephant is very like a tree. The fifth, who chanced to touch the ear, said, In the blindest man can tell what this resembles most, deny the fact who can. This marble of an elephant is very like a fan.' The sixth no sooner had begun about the beast to grope, than seizing on the swinging tail that fell within his scope, 'I see,' quoth he, 'the elephant is very like a rope.' And so these men of Indostan disputed loud and long, to each his own opinion, exceeding stiff and strong, though each was partly in the right, and all were in the wrong. So oft the theologic wars, the disputants I ween, that's it, tread on in utter ignorance of what each other mean, and prate about the elephant, and not one of them has seen." And so that poem, I guess the moral of that is what I just said earlier, in that what you believe to be correct may not necessarily be true. Although what those men each were feeling, the part of the elephants they were feeling up, they were right in what that part of the elephant felt like, but none of them understood that those were all part of the same creature. And so the elephant isn't really like a tree. It's not like a rope or like a spear or like any of those things. But each part of those elephants is like those things. And so they were all pretty much wrong. And that's why that right there is why it's so important that we're able to determine what information we're getting is credible and how we can know whether or not it's a valid source of information. And so that's why it's important. Let's go to how to actually tell that. Now this is weird because this is an actual teaching thing. The last couple of lessons, the last 2 lessons I've taught were mostly I guess opinion based in a sense. This one is also technically opinion based, but this one actually has material to teach. It has lesson. I can actually physically teach. I don't know. You'll see what I mean. Okay, so the first thing is, let's see. This is creating effective search strategies. Let me click there and open up. So effective search strategies. If you're working on Google specifically or on the internet, you can well actually let's use book sources first. Just touch on those because nobody uses them anymore, unfortunately. I actually have a whole set of encyclopedias over there. They're a little bit outdated, but it's so some information may no longer be correct, but I'll get into that later. But so when you're searching through things like encyclopedias and through books, well, you're going to want to oh no, that's in determining credibility. So you're going to want to, well, if you're looking through book sources, which you're going to, the best way to search for information is to look at subject encyclopedias, and those are sets of encyclopedias that provide information on a specific subject rather than that kind of encyclopedia that I have over there, which is just any and all information in the known universe. Not really, but it's a lot of information. So you want subject encyclopedias. Now, if you're searching the internet, now I'm actually going to go into that. If you're searching the internet, what most people do is they type the questions into Google, and most people will probably have trouble researching proper information on that, and that's because the way Google's search engine works is it doesn't read the input in complete sentences. It reads it so it looks for the words that you typed. So if you're looking for a specific information, what you're going to want to do is use what are called Boolean search terms. And what you should be doing is, let's say you're searching the use of fencing in the Olympics or something like that, you know? What you want to do is, rather than typing when was fencing used in the Olympics, you know, you're going to want to type something like, in quotes, you're going to type the word fencing, then and then Olympics. And then Google will return search results with articles containing both of those words. That's why the word and there is very important. Then Google will return search results containing those two things, and you'll narrow down your search significantly. And now the second one is truncating, which I think is using or. Let me see. We drove it. There we go. That's the opposite of, no, it's not. So we want to, let's see. Give me a second. I will be right back when I find it. Okay, so I found one more thing. The use of or isn't the truncation term. What or is another Boolean search term that will increase search results in case you're not finding enough information on a certain topic. Like, let's say you use the and term and you get, you narrow down your search results, but you don't find enough information on that topic. You can then use or instead, like saying fencing or the Olympics, and get a lot more information that way. But it may not be as, not all the information might be as relevant, I suppose. Another helpful tool when doing this kind of research is truncation. Let's see. Let me just read this. Truncation is used to include all possible endings of a word in your search. An example would be the word library. If you wanted to have the database search for library and libraries without typing in both words, you could use truncation to accomplish that. Okay. So you enter the root or base of a word into the search box, and then enter an asterisk, the little star symbol. So, when doing that though, you're gonna have to be careful a little bit as to where the cutoff is, because this one says if you truncate the word library by typing LIB and then an asterisk, you would get a whole bunch of results, like, liberal or libation or libel or liberation or all sorts of other stuff, anything that starts with LIB. So you want to library or something like that. And so yeah, truncation I've personally never really used, because I've never really needed it. Boolean search terms have always been enough for me. But you could feel free to try it out if you feel so inclined. Okay, so now that we've covered effective search strategies, let's talk about sources, scholarly sources. So now that we found our information, what we now need to do is determine if the information that we just found is credible, because credible sources are very important. Like, in high school or other such things, when you're doing research reports, teachers will forbid the use of certain websites like Wikipedia, because, back in their day, Wikipedia was actually completely not credible, because anybody could edit it whenever they wanted to, and no one would ever check it to make sure that what they edit was credible. They don't actually do that anymore. Wikipedia now actually makes sure that any edits in there are credible before they allow them to go, before they allow them on their page. And if they determine not necessarily, you can go and edit them, and then if Wikipedia sees that something's off, they'll delete that part of that edit. And you'll also note that now citations are kind of important in Wikipedia, but all this isn't important. Well, it is important, but that's beside the point. Okay. So, this one uses this article on scholarly resources uses an example of people writing books on ADHD, which is it's people do that. So our first author is a man by the name of Joel T. Nigg. He has written a book called What Causes ADHD? What's Understanding What Goes Wrong and Why. If we type that name into Google or another internet search engine, we should be able to see what qualifies him to write on the topic. So, one of the biggest parts of determining whether the information is credible is by looking at the author. The author of the information, if they are not qualified to write on that subject, then it's safe to assume that you might want to find another source. So this guy, he holds a PhD, but we don't know what subject area he studied. If we talk blah, 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 curriculum vitae on professional information. So basically, if you look it up, you'll find out that he's a professor of clinical psychology and has a history of researching ADHD. So we can tell by, that little profile of Mr. Nigg, we can tell that he's probably fairly qualified to write on ADHD, and he could probably be in his book. The information in his book could probably be trusted. Now, there's another author named Robert DeMaria who's writing on the topic of ADHD in a book called Dr. Bob's Guide to Stop ADHD in 18 Days. That title right there, I can already tell, is misleading because, well, you can't stop ADHD. Sorry, it can't be done. But that's beside the point. Having ADHD, I can tell it's not going to go away. It doesn't. If we search for him, we'll get several results, but nothing that will help us understand who he is or what credentials he has. If we search the way he refers to himself in the book, look in the About Us section of his homepage, we can see that there is no information whatsoever that tells us that Dr. DeMaria has educational experience or why he's an authority on ADHD. So that doesn't necessarily mean he doesn't know what he's talking about, but based on the title of the book, he may very well not be. Oh, and he calls himself the drugless doctor, which means that I don't know. I mean, you can't judge a book by its cover or by its title, but it kind of sounds to me that he's writing a book on how to stop ADHD or how to, handle it without the use of drugs. And, well, I'm not really sure how effective that would be, because personally, if I don't have the medication needed, I have trouble functioning as a regular human being. In school, anyway, I have trouble focusing, but But if he finds a way to do it without drugs, be my guest. But that's beside the point. This is all just opinionated, and I should probably avoid opinionated. Anywho, so those are just two. So that's one of the biggest ways you can determine whether or not the information is credible, is by looking at the author of the article and determining whether or not they are qualified to write on that subject. Other things you can do are like check the publisher. If it's like a well-known publisher, then you could say, oh yeah, it's a well-known publisher. They publish lots of books. I don't really look at the publisher ever. I mostly just look at the author, and I look at other articles relating to what that author has written, and then check those authors because, well, it's I go into that depth when I'm determining credibility because it's that important. I don't want to, because I like to learn things. I like to go on the internet and search information that I want to know about, and then when I learn something new, I can't stop talking about what I've just learned. That's why I put so much effort into making sure the information is credible, because that way I don't go around spreading false information, because that's already a problem. I definitely don't want to add to it. I'm kind of running out of time because I keep rambling. And so since I went into at the beginning how important it was to make sure that we are researching well and making sure that we know what the truth is, or despite what others may tell us, or despite what we used to believe, we need to make sure what is actually true, what is actually correct, because we don't want to add to the already growing problem in the media of spreading false information. And so I'm gonna leave that there. So I'll leave this video here. If you liked it, then leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. And feel free to leave comments telling me what you liked about it, telling me what you don't like about it, and yeah. So I'll leave that there. And in the next lesson, I think we're talking about an entirely different subject. So let me tell you what that is. So lesson 9 is on self-reliance. So that should be a fun one. But until then, you guys just enjoy yourselves, and I will see you in the next one. All right? Bye-bye.